To inspire professionals and businesses alike. Ladies and gentlemen, I would request you to give them a big round of applause. And sir, stage is all yours.
Thank you. This side is it? Okay. ಇದೆ. Thank you for the nice introduction. And so we can start our first session today. Thank you for your half an hour patience. Um, we wanted everyone to gather here, and our first session, scaling globally without legal entities. Welcome. I welcome all of you for the this first session. As we all know, EOR is becoming very important these days, and this I'm very much excited to talk about this topic because that is one of our major businesses also, and this is becoming very important topic these days because companies are using for a different reasons. We'll get into a detail. We'll ask our panelists why exactly they are using and how, what is the compliance related questions and all. But before that, without wasting my time, I'll just start inviting our panelists for the day today. First, I would like to invite my partner, my colleague, Mr. Raghavendra on the stage. Raghavendra is a co-founder and executive director for Emgeo Global. And he is the person who started this business for us. And he knows this in and around very well. Raghavendra, please. He has almost 20 years of experience. And from last 10 years, he is in this space now. And previous to Emgeo Global, he worked for Helma, Tech Mahindra, and Aditya Birla. And Raghu, I know, as Dhiren mentioned, from last 15 plus years now, and always cool and always smiling, cool. Whatever situation he is in, he will be all the time is in the calm and cool situation. So, welcome, Raghu. And
Thank you, Guru.
so just I want to ask you from long time. So normally immigration is like that. Wherever we go, the status follows us, right? So in such situation, how normally you ensure that you are cool and calm in every situation?
Okay, not sure. So usually we are being in the immigration industry and business. Pressure, escalation, challenges is part and parcel of our life. So whenever I get into a situation like that, so I normally don't react. I will try to see the situation, talk to concerned team, clients, and our partners, try to resolve the situation. So that's how I'm handling. The team is happy, our client is happy. It's going good.
Thank you. Thank you for that, because when you lead, my belief is when you lead with a cool and calm situation, right? So for us, for each of the team, it gives a confidence. So thank you for leading us. Okay. Please take a seat.
Thank you.
So next, I would like to invite who comes with a 30 years of experience and who is always our support. Please welcome, I welcome Mr. Ravi Kumar to the stage. Ravi is, we all know, but just still I'm just telling, please come down. Associate Vice President, Global Talent Mobility at Birlasoft, and he has 30 years of experience, previously worked for LTI, Alliance, and because we are just showcasing their, because if the moment I start talking about their profile, probably full hour will go. So that's why Ravi, you are always our support. Whenever we meet Ravi, Ravi is giving us a lot of advice. Probably that is the one reason today the conference is also happening, Ravi. I should admit that. Thank you for coming. And just I have one question for you before we start. Yeah. So 30 years is a long journey. So when you look back, so how it feels like, about this journey, we just want to hear from you.
I wish I have another 30 years to learn immigration, to learn compliance, to learn mobility, and to learn UR and make global deployment easy for business.
Thank you for joining us, panelists. Please take a seat. So next, I would like to call on stage our next panelist, again 20 plus of years of experience, Mr. Kishore Bhagwat from Altimetric, Senior General Manager, HR People Practices, and previously worked for ITC Wipro. Thank you, Kishore. Thank you for joining us. Kishore, just 2 minutes, Kishore. Kishore, I know from last, I don't know whether he remembers me with the area. My first colleague, he is always smiling. Whenever as a junior, after college I joined Wipro, he was there. He was a little bit senior that time, right? He is already a senior. Whatever doubts we have, he was always there to help us with those doubts. And thank you, Kishore. Thank you for joining us. And again, I have some similar question for you, because before 20 years now, right? 20 years ago, the global mobility has evolved very much, right? 20 years ago, only 5 or 6 of us, or within 10 members, we used to sit, right? So what is the change you are seeing from last 20 years, like how it was earlier? And
yeah, big subject, but I need to answer it in a very, in the gist, if I have to say, the practices have changed a lot. I think the biggest change that we have seen is the technology, right? And today technology enables our mobility. It's a driving factor behind the mobility. So if I have to, call out specifically what is that big change, definitely the technology, the automation, and the AI.
okay. Thank you, Kishan.
Thank you, sir.
Please take a seat. So our last panelist for the day today. Okay, Bharat is coming later. I would like to welcome another person, Mr. Bharat Kumar J, Senior Manager, Global Multi Customer. Again, he comes with 20 years of experience. Bharat also I know from long time now. Highly expertise and operational guy, and always talks about complaints, and we normally regularly interact with Bharat. So undoubtedly is one of the knowledgeable person I have ever seen, and it's always easy to convince him, right? As a client or as a friend, it's very easy to explain him what is the issues we are facing, and he is always there. And Bharat also worked for Wipro IBM. Thank you Bharat for joining us today. Thank you Bharat. Okay, and I also have one question for you before we start. Yeah. So, again, 20 years of experience. So, can you just tell me that one thing which keeps you motivating all the time?
Yeah, thank you. So I believe it's the dynamic nature of this field, right? Every day we face new challenges in terms of the process, policies, and the compliances, and also handling the complex situations in terms of the global mobility world. So that is something which keeps me motivated.
Thanks. So, I welcome you all for the discussion. So, let me start asking them few questions, and then all audience can pitch in and shoot them with some questions. Thank you. Shall we start, sir? So, let me okay, and then we will ask or the audience will pitch in. That's how the discussion will happen. And so these days, now earlier when we started, we used to follow the traditional structures, right? Nowadays, as we move in our career, we have seen that the PO, UR is becoming important. So most of the companies are using it these days. And why they are using? Because of several reasons. Might be they want to grow their business outside, or they want there is some quota issues. But same time, there is some hesitations also I have seen, because whenever I'm talking to a few managers and all, that's why I just want to understand from all of you. But before we start, I just want to start with Raghu only. Raghu, you are, because you are spending, you are here from last 10 years now, from all, when you have designed these services for us, and you have created all those networks, right? And nowadays, some people are there from core HR also. So that's just to start with, before we get into our detailed questions. Can you just brief us, like how exactly this POUR works? Okay, what exactly, why people require this? Why normally the clients come to you and ask you? And what is that main reason you have started this? You have decided that this should be our business area. So based on that, we will ask some questions to our experts. Can you just start?
Yeah. In simple terms, UR means employer of record. Companies can go for UR where they can hire the resources where they don't have legal entity in any geography. Employer of record basically takes care of employing the resource, taking care of starting from onboarding the candidate, and then local laws of statutory payments, starting from social security, income tax, employee benefits, entire thing. Usually, why clients go for UR? The business is faster nowadays. The clients wants faster agility and compliance. In any particular region, when need to hire a resource or deploy a resource, a lot of complex matters are there, starting from what is the contract, whether should go for a definite contract, indefinite contract, or what are the due diligence should be, do before onboarding the candidate, and HR policies, who takes care of the payroll, how about the tax and other compliance matters. UR is one point solution for all these challenges when a business needs to go to the new market and test for the business or kickstart the project seamlessly and onboard the candidate and resource work for them as their employee. So UR takes care of entire HR policies, payroll, onboarding and everything, and client just have to manage the resource and the client. So it is very simple and quick start. So that is where most of the corporates try and use UR. This was very familiar in Western countries to start a project or to hire the candidates without opening a legal entities, and we are seeing that adoptions in the Indian corporates as well. So that is how the UR is helping the corporates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. Thank you, Raghu. Sorry. That's a clear explanation and a simple explanation. We'll get into some detailed stuffs on that. I want to start with Ravi. Ravi, now, see, Raghu has given a simple explanation why we are required. But now you have seen the industry from last 30 years. That's what we have seen. We are talking about your 30 years of experience. Now, from 30 years, so how it was earlier, like how it is evolved from during these years, like from when you started your career, after that, now how it is, and how the organization looking at these models today, and do you think it's a temporary trend or permanent trend? How it will be like? So just
Wonderful, wonderful question actually. So
So when we see from a trend perspective, right, trend can, when we say trend, you can refer to the past and you can also refer to the present. If you see from a present trend perspective, all of us are here discussing about UR, getting to know more about it, learn more about it, so that we equip ourselves to be able to comfortably explain to the business and the leaderships, including the compliance teams, to get an S from them to move forward from there on the OR model. So that is a trend that we are in today. Now, when we go for the past, of course, as you rightly chosen a 30-year-old experienced person here, so I can tell that, right? So, at least in 3-4 companies where I was taking up the new position, and when you are talking to the leadership, business team would come and say, we want to send people to Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore. We don't have quota, or we don't have legal entity, or we do not have the certainty on the business, whether we should go there or not. Actually, the client is asking us to send 5 people to Singapore, but we do not have quota. We want to say no nicely to them. Is there any solution from your side to say no to them? Right? So that is when the trend started. Right? So when I used to go back and tell them, are you sure you want to go and say no to them nicely? Or if there is a solution that you would be happy to tell them. From there, when the UR model started, so we have to try to explain what is UR, like what Raghu was explaining the same pitch. I had to give it to various leadership, explaining them what is UR and what they can use for, and how compliant is it, and how people will be comfortable in taking this, or what are the risks and the challenges, or the queries and anxieties that are around there. So explaining to them, that is where it all started, and I can tell very confidently. Looks like the number of years that you have said, mostly Dhiren must be the senior most here. Maybe I'm the second person.
Sir is there.
Sir, need to check with you.
Yeah.
Right. So from that perspective, again, UOR has definitely taken a greater shape. And I can very confidently say I have been deploying people on UR model for many companies for many years in many countries and geographies. I have not faced any crucial or critical issues that I would want to think twice. It will only make me comfortable and convince my leadership here or wherever, or even when people reach me for suggestions or advice, or when I reach for Raghu for advice. I think it is still doable, and I am in a very, very comfortable position with all the data points from an employee perspective, from a compliance perspective, from a leadership perspective, and also from cost perspectives. All of these aspects I have experience, which I have done, and of course I must thank all our, the industry fraternity and the colleagues and the Emgeo and the team for supporting us and being with us to be able to handle the situation, to make even more prominency on the UR as a model for business strategy.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. That was a clear explanation. Now, in continuation to that, now always we know that it's not easy to explain the teams, right? So whenever I spoke with several people, they have some hesitations whether to use it or not, whether how to check. Now, in continuation to that, I have a question for you. Normally, how you convince? No, definitely, whenever whatever I worked in a corporates, I have seen it's not so easy to discuss with the business teams. The moment we tell that they will not be our employees, they will be from the other entity. Definitely, we will have a lot of questions, right, from the business teams. So, how is it easy to convince the business teams, or normally how you normally are you using it at your organization? If you are using it, how is it easy to convince the business teams? How it will be?
Well, actually, is it easy to convince the business? The answer is straightforward, it is not.
Okay.
And that's where the role of a global mobility leader comes in, essentially, right? When you see how does it normally emanate from, right? It starts from asking questions saying, and I need to send somebody to, some country where you do not have an establishment, right? All that actually comes to you as a problem statement to deal with.
You as a global mobility leader essentially will have to fulfill that. And now comes the question, how do we do that? Do you have an entity? Answer is very clearly no. And then comes, can we have an alternative methods? Without compromising on the time, without compromising the cost. I think these two are very essential for us. Obviously, in the we are all majority of our office are in the IT industry today. So IT industry normally runs by these two things, which is the speed and the cost, right? So without getting into a cost escalation, say for example, will you be able to deploy somebody, or will you be able to hire somebody in that place where you do not have an PE? So yes, it is. As I said, it is definitely not easy because upfront, when a leader asks you what does that cost me, right, or cost the business, it upfront looks bigger than running your own payroll, running your own entity, and using your entity for hiring people. Obviously, it's a cut on the business because business does the mathematics and say, this is the margin that I need to have. And essentially, they will have to take a little bit of a more dent on the margin, right? But if the business is very important for the leaders to pursue, then we have seen that, this has been successful. And we have actually, explored this, of course, with 5 years in Raghu's previous avatar, and also with Emgeo, and with, some more service providers as well. And it's been a good model. I think, we have been successful in delivering, what we wanted to deliver to the customers. But having said that, it has its own flip side. And as a leader, we will have to actually, kind of sit on the table, make them understand that, okay, why it is the only viable option, right? And that's how we are able to kind of, take the buy-in from the business. It's not easy, but yeah.
We know that it's always there, and thank you for explaining us that. And definitely, it's an internal challenge. Now, in continuation to that, I just have a few questions for that. Now, this is your niche area. We always, as I started discussion, we always tell the complaints. Now, complaints is often the concerns that whatever why business team is worried there whether we are complaints side we are correct or not, right? So how you ensure that whether the whatever we are following is a complaint, and the provider whoever is providing whether making it properly or not. So how you manage, Bharat? Just
Sure, thank you. So basically, when we start off with the UR model, the common challenge which comes up is the 3 C's, right? The business is curious to know why we want to do the UR. The second one is the cost. There will be an additional cost, so they are worried about the margins. And the last one is the compliance. Like, how are they going to be compliant? Because the control and the control of the employee will be through the partner. So what steps are being taken to ensure that the business continuity happens and still the EOR company is compliant? So we explain to them the model where we explain that the direction and control continues to be with the parent company. The day-to-day responsibilities as well as the performance appraisals and the team management, everything continues to be with the parent company, that is the home country or the sending country. And the EOR partner is responsible for being compliant with the payroll compliance as well as ensuring the local benefit administration is taken care of. And we also give them successful case examples which we have done previously. So we tell them that we have done this previously in multiple geographies and we have never faced a challenge. And also we ensure that the EOR companies share us periodic feedback as well as reports like tax compliances, whether the taxes are being paid on time, whether the social security aspects are being taken care of, and being the employer of record by signing the contract. So we hold them accountable for all the compliances.
okay. Thank you, Bharat. Yes, compliance is again it's a basic funda for all of us in immigration. Raghu, because we are talking about the complaints, so I have some more questions, then we will just move it to employee. Hope I can continue, right? Yeah. Hello? Okay. So because we are talking about the complaints, it's talking about the complaints from the perspective of his company side. Now I'm just want to understand from the bigger view. Are all the countries have accepted this, or are you facing any issues to place people in some of the geographies, or any challenges in that aspect, so from the legal side of it, whether it is acceptable in all the countries or not? So such can you just give some inputs on those?
We speak EOR, definitely a lot of questions are there. Whether EOR is legal or it is not allowed. So many questions comes from the client or business side. Uh, EOR is definitely is illegal, but it's not a formula kind of solution for all the countries. It all depends how exactly you are going to structure the contract in the particular country. To give an example, let's say Germany. So Germany, you are the most of the times get mixed up with labor lease. So that is again, need to study the labor lease requirements, or what is the alternate arrangement is required, and how UR should be structured there. And to give you other few countries, for example, Switzerland. Switzerland, when we talk about UR, we have to see how local employment laws align to UR. Likewise, Singapore. So I'm sure most of the companies have challenges in Singapore, though they have entity because of recent introduction of Compass and all. So again, if you ask right question, UR is legal in Singapore, maybe you get an answer, no, it is not allowed. But there is a solution, but we have to find a way, what is the solution, workaround to have UR arrangement in Singapore. Likewise, I can say Canada, because of different provinces and laws comes. Yes, UR is not a bypass of deployment. It is a more of legal structure, how the business or corporates understand, align the contractual arrangements, employment arrangements, and all. Yeah.
Can you follow? Thank you for explaining the legal side of it. So I understood that few countries it is acceptable, few there are challenges, but you have some workaround towards it. And I seen some Germany also, it's only for accepted for only for few period, right? 18 months or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, only 18 months. So some countries have given only for this period. After that, you need to have your own entity, something like that. You need to plan. Yeah. Okay.
You cannot renew the contract after 18 months under the UR model. Then you have to establish and take the candidate on the roll.
Okay.
So the continuity is not there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Raghu. Now, Ravi, I have asked him the same question, but little bit changed with the business. From the business side, he has explained that. But again, from the employee side also, I have seen that there are a lot of, means the moment we tell them that he is an employee of X company, he has that brand, his brand tag to him. The moment he comes to know that, the moment he goes to some other country, he will be the employee of some other company, definitely there is a resistance from him, right? So how you typically, like some people will reject offers for that, or you guys would convince them, or how you manage normally? Normally you, very rare regions only you require it. So how will you manage that?
Again, a brilliant question. I think it is important that we all know how we manage these situations, or how I have managed these situations in multiple corporations. What is important is the trust, right? First of all, the company that you are representing or you are working for, your values and ethics and beliefs is the driving factor for you, right? And what the employee expects is what is there in the letterhead, how you do the construct of the framework, or the contract with your mobility vendors or your model that you are doing. As long as you live the values of the company that you have been there in that company, and if you can ensure that the same is replicated in the UOR model as well, then every other problem is nothing, right? To answer your question, I have not heard anybody rejecting the offer because it is a newer model. It is always with the CNB, right? If the if the numbers are negotiated and accepted, there I have not seen any drop it. But of course, on the number side, yes, it has been. But from a trust perspective, as long as you can live the culture tenets of your company and the values, and if you can keep the commitments that you do, you should be definitely be very successful in deployments. So having said that, what happens is in an UR model, typically all that you want to say, you may not be able to exactly put it in words because you are not issuing the local offer letter. For that matter, it is not even a deputation, so you cannot even give a deputation letter from your company. Right? In the best case scenario, what people do is make them resign from the company, and then you are not employed in that corporation, so that there is no double employment, etc., etc. So when he is not even your employee, how will you ensure your culture tenets or values or the contract obligations that is going to be executed between the candidate and the UR of choice company? Then there lies the challenge. So as long as the trust factor, and if you are able to demonstrate and live the values of your current employment terms or model or approach or employee philosophy, then your problem is solved 90%. Definitely it is addressed. Now comes to the employee piece. So how do you manage employee expectations, or sometimes you are referring resistance on that matter? So here is where my request, and this is what I do and I encourage my team to do, is keep talking to your people. Whoever you are deploying, not necessarily only on UR model, but also on the other deputations as well. Keep engaged with your employees. Talk to them. Hear them. Understand them. There could be problems, there could be issues, there could be frustrations, there could be doubts that could be coming in. Because you are sending on a model that is something new, there itself the multiple questions starts booming in, right? So people will have many questions that are to be asked, even though they're, the payday, the salaries are paid, or the extensions are done, the renewals are done, but there are questions definitely that are lying in there. As long as you can establish a continuous engagement with the candidate in terms of how are things, how it is going and all that, and you establish that connect and context, then he feels that, oh, looks like the paper is different, but again, I'm working for the same company. My mobility team is my mobility team, and my mobility team is there to take care of me, right? So as long as you do demonstrate the trust and you continuously engage with the employees, rest, I think, when you have Raghu or Raghavendra there and Dhiren in there, then the rest of the thing is a thing that is given that it is going to be done, right? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Ravi. That means the trust factor is very important here. So, Kishore, I just have one question for you, because most of the clients comes to us, means not, or 50% of the clients are the startups. They come, they want to expand their business. So that's the reason they come to us, and we provide them those services. But you all belong to a larger corporates now, right? So that's easy in startups and smaller companies or mid-size. It's easy to decision because they get the business, they don't have an entity, they cannot do anything, immediately they go. But larger corporates are not like that, right? So how, means at what stage you decide, like whether we should, because definitely you need it for a very lesser countries, because most of the countries you will have your own entity only. So at what stage you think that we might need this in our company? So, any?
Raghu, irrespective of whether you are big or small, right? This is a business necessity. Let me put it straight. Maybe I think, some senior folks sitting here who are having maybe, 200 entities like Prasanna or somebody probably can afford to say boldly that, I don't need a war, but I can, I have ability to plant people wherever I need. But fundamentally, I think, again, irrespective of whether you are a big organization or small organization, it is impossible to run a permanent establishment in all the countries, number one. All right. And it is not
viable from a business standpoint. I think the taxation element of it. You have to run an entity. It's obviously there is a cost associated with that. So that's not a. And I have seen being part of a big organization where we kind of went on closing the entities where we create an entity for the sake of creating an entity. Sometimes anticipating businesses, but it would obviously not kind of result in actually creating a business in that particular in that geography. So hence we kind of close down many entities. Suddenly some business comes up again after you close down an entity, and then that's where we all start figuring out how to deploy people now, and hence I think EOR is definitely the way to go. Predominantly, in maybe two scenarios. One is actually, when you do not have an entity. Number two, when you do not anticipate a very long-term project, okay, or long-term assignment. Normally when you see a prospect of the business, volume plus the tenure, we anticipate, okay, the contract is going to be more than 2 years, right? Or at least, more than 1 year. Then all these efforts of, working towards putting an PE make sense. Otherwise, it's a very default route that, okay, you explore EOR services. One, actually, you don't have to run around, a lot of compliances. And number two, the deployment could be faster. If there is no dependency of, something like a work permit for somebody, and if you are actually, very want to kind of quickly ramp up in a particular geography with your local, workforce, hiring and ramping up could be very fast. So the most desired scenarios that we would actually look at using this EOR is mostly for a very quick ramp up, and we do not anticipate kind of creating a liability on the long term.
Okay. Thank you, Kishore. That's a good explanation on how normally why we need it. Now, in continuation to that, now see for Bharat I have a question. I have already asked them how business reacts, how employee reacts. Now, similar to you, I have a question: how client react? Because sometimes client also you need to explain, right? So client also might not be ready. So how you manage such kind of situations?
Sure. Okay, so we operate in a model of hybrid. So wherever we have our entity, we are able to deploy the employees through our entity. But where we have new projects coming up, as Kishore explained, it's a short-term project, or we don't see big vision of expansion in that is the business expansion in that region. So then we suggest the EOR model. So the business is, oh no, my client might not be ready to accept this model. So then we explain to them that the control and supervision continues to be with our company, and the work permit sponsorship and the payroll management is something which the partner, that is the EOR partner, is taking care of. But the rest of the activities, like the physical asset, the laptop, access to our systems, the day-to-day tasks, these are some of the things which continues to be managed through our systems, and there is a clear separation of duties. Like EOR team takes care of acting as an employer only in the books. They take care of benefits administration, payroll compliance, and we as an organization are responsible for all the deliverables to the client, and there will be no discontinuity just because the employee has been added through the partner. And also in certain countries like Africa or Eastern Asian countries, opening up an entity in a short span of time is not possible. So the clients also do understand. And as Raghu explained about Singapore, right, today due to the Compass framework, hiring there has become a bigger challenge, and we have to meet the business commitments. That's where we get the buy-in from the client. We explain the entire model and tell them that the employee deployment is through the partner because of quota issues or for a temporary assignment. But definitely when we are able to scale up, when we look at a larger business deal coming our way, we would like to have our own entity. So that's how we are operating currently.
Okay. Thank you, Bharat. So actually discussion is getting excited, but we'll take small pause. I have some more questions to ask, but we'll take some pause or it will be boring for our audience. So we'll take few questions from the audience or we'll just interact with them. In case if you don't have any questions, I want to continue with them for some more discussion. Um, Open for questions now.
Question is on the point that you was talking about EORs. I want to ask, 18 months is the period that any EOR contract should be, is what you are referring, right? So is it something, is it geography specific or country specific, or wherever you have EOR services, does it come to play? Because most of them in the room will know Europe has a lot of employee centric rules, but is it the same for any other geography or any other country? Because Middle East, which is a booming sector, or Southeast Asia, which is another booming sector, all of them, it's not easy, like I said, to set up an entity at, if you want to, any company, if they want to set up an entity. So is this applicable across, or is there a reason? Is it only labor? Is it behind, or is there some other reason behind it?
As you mentioned, yeah, European countries comes up with a lot of employee-centric laws. So whenever we talk about EWAR, it is key to understand the laws European countries, because most of the times when there is an issue, the laws favor to employees. Specifically need to understand what is the kind of contract should go for in European countries, like definite period, indefinite period, or the kind of benefits going to offer to the employees, and then very important need to understand severance pay. For example, we have a case in France where client hired the candidate on a indefinite contract. So after working for 6 months, the candidate just went on sick leave. So the client point, this candidate went on sick leave, so I no need to pay the salary. That is the understanding. So the French laws are totally different. So when employee goes for his sick leave, you can't even question the candidate, and you're not even supposed to reach and seek for an explanation other than asking only medical certificate. The candidate is totally not reachable over a call, only on the email. When he wants to respond, he used to respond in email, just sending one medical certificate. So even for 4 years, being a EOR company, we couldn't even send one notice to the employee because of the gap in understanding with the client. Being a EOR company, bear the cost of salary and all. So likewise, I can give another example, Luxembourg. The Luxembourg, the maternity leave, to give an example of maternity leave, provides 2 years maternity period. So during the 2 years maternity period, the government funds the employee salary, 75% of the employee salary. But still 25% should come from the client side. So the practice varies different, and the client feels why we should pay 25% of salary when resource is not billable. So these kind of challenges comes particularly in European countries as it's a labor centric. Other geographies, it is a different way of contract arrangement comes. To give an example, Japan. So Japan, there is a two way of EOR. One is a regular EOR where you just sponsor the visa or you just hire the candidate and deploy to the end client place. But there is another option where it's called hack-in license. The hack-in license is nothing but the dispatch agreement. So here the challenge what it comes, when usually client started talking Japan related business under EOR, most of the times they will just hear hack-in license, then they will just start, do you have a hack-in license and you can support EOR. But here the requirement is when you have hack-in license and wants to deploy the resource under that license, the dispatch agreement should come from the end client, and the payment to your company should come from the end client. For sure, I think no end client will agree to get into a dispatch agreement with third party and take care of that. So likewise, other region, maybe Middle East, the point of deploying the resource, due to the quota issue, it is very well known, and even clients also very well known. The resource will be sponsored by some third party manpower companies, and the straight away take a visa sponsorship and go and work at the client place. They just need to worry about only the gate entry pass, which the client always ready to support. Likewise, so the laws change country to country. Your solution is there, but it changes country to country. Need to understand completely and customize meeting that particular local country laws.
Okay. So overall, you mean to say that termination is not so easy
Yes.
when it goes when
Yeah.
it comes to. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not like these days how we are seeing. No pink slip and all that will not work out.
It
there.
definitely
That
will not work.
out there. Yeah, yeah.
Even before talking anything with the candidate, it should be talked to your companies, understand the severance pay, the way of termination, and each and every step should be precisely followed, record it, and then go with proper communication.
Also social security.
Social security. The common observation what we made, usually when employees talking to the business team, they will, very straight, very friendly. They will not observe any challenges going to come.
Okay.
But when, that's what business team and comes and tell us, I had a discussion with the candidate, the candidate is agreed, you just issue the notice and terminate the candidate. But when we, contact the employee, there will be a different scenario.
Okay.
Because they are very well known to the local laws and easy to reach them for a lawyer and file a case.
Okay. Thank you. Hope it answers your questions. Yeah. Any-
I have a question on legal obligation to hire a person back in your organization. Because when you send a person to your arrangement, person resigns from your organization, right?
Yeah.
When the project gets over, assignment gets over, you don't have an opening in your organization. What are your legal obligations for you to hire him back?
Okay. It totally again depends on the kind of contract you have signed with the candidate. Let's say the first option always will be a definite period contract. So when you sign a definite period contract means you are honored the duration of the contract you mentioned in the contract, irrespective of the project duration. Let's say the contract has been signed for a 1 year. The project gets over in a 6 months. So the remaining 6 months, yes, irrespective of the project continues for 1 year or not, the still remaining 6 months will become as a severance pay. So that the should talk to the employee, mutually come to an agreement. It's called mutual consent agreement. Sign the agreement and pay 6 months severance pay and terminate the employee. This is with regards to definite. When it comes to indefinite period, we have to follow a lot of procedure, starting from what reason we are going to terminate the candidate. Always we have to keep it in mind. Giving economical reason and terminating the candidate is always a tough situation. For example, I expected a project to go for 2 years, but the project got terminated in 1 year. Giving that scenario, termination is very complex. That may end up paying a large severance cost. So, likewise, every situation need to understand. Based on that, we have to come up with termination procedure.
Raghu, I have one example or scenario. One thing is like we need to send an employee to Singapore.
Okay.
And he's working on a critical project currently.
Okay.
So his current project is going to expire within 2 months next.
Okay.
But another project coming from the Singapore, we wanted to start in 1 month.
Okay.
So we would like to pay India as well as Singapore to the employee.
Okay.
So I would like to ask you about the compliance perspective. What is the compliance and how we tackle on that?
Okay. So, to understand your question, you mean to say you need to pay salary in India as well as in Singapore. So, the dual salary concept you are referring. The resource will be in India or in Singapore.
Currently, he's in India,
Okay.
but next 1 month also, next 1 month or 2 month, he will be going to travel to Singapore, and he is going to work with the both project,
Okay.
current project as well as upcoming project.
So, dual work for dual
Dual
project.
work, yeah.
Okay. Right. So, in legal point of view, there is no restrictions to pay salaries either in India, both in India as well as in Singapore, as long as you are taking care of payroll statutory compliance like income tax, social security and all. So if your corporate is fine with the double costing, obviously there is no stopping for that.
Corporate is okay. I just wanted to know about.
No, there is no
the-
restriction on the legal point. So legally, we'll expect, how you are going to run the payroll. So the most of the governments look for when you run the payroll, whether you follow the statutory process, compliance point of view, like the proper deductions and contributions paid to the respective governments. When you pay salary in India, of course, you have to factor the income tax, PF, Indian payroll perspective. When you are processing Singapore salary, you have to factor it Singapore payroll. The both, as long as you are comfortable to run both the payrolls, definitely there is no stoppage for that.
Thank you.
Any more questions or shall I continue? Amrita has a question.
We have an entity in Singapore, but again, due to various reasons, the entity is not active, but still wanted to use the ERO. Any similar countries have their restriction because we have active company, kind of?
You want to use UR in Singapore or?
Yeah, Singapore. First
Oh.
is Singapore,
Okay.
and coming to other again, um, any other countries have restriction because we already have a legal entity there.
Okay. So, with respect to Singapore, when you have a legal entity and still you want to go for a UR, it purely depends on the contractual arrangement you are going to frame it. For example, who is going to pay to the employee, who is going to supervise the employee. These are the key factors to need to understand and frame the contract according to that. So then, yes, it is possible to use UR. In other geographies, there is no such restrictions. So after Compass framework implemented in Singapore, and Singapore government is trying to avoid using UR being present in local. So that is the Ministry of Manpower is trying to restrict corporates use UR. So you already have entity, but still you want to use UR. It purely depends on the framework of contractual agreements.
Thank you.
Hello. So, alternatively, what was being used before the launch of UR, and was there any sort of experimentation being done before the launch?
No was the easy answer everybody was giving it. Until UOR was coming. After UOR was coming, the mobility managers and leaders did a lot of effort in working with industry stalwarts and companies like Emgeo and other UOR and other corporates to know how things work. And then we started educating, and then it became the practice, and today where we are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I? Yeah.
Hello. So I have a question similar to him, but if in case I do not have a physical office, but I have a virtual office, so how does EO work? It does it work good, or how the contract going to work out? I don't have a virtual office. As in, I have a virtual office. But I don't have a physical office.
Okay.
Does EO work similar to this, or it's going to work out differently?
Okay. Yeah, take Kishore.
What do you mean by virtual office?
See, there are entities who don't have a physical office, but they do have a to
Registered
make the
office.
presence.
So you do not
right?
have a physical office. That
yeah,
means you
we
don't have a place, seat, and table and
Yes,
computers
yeah, it's
basically.
just a
No, it doesn't matter, my friend. Actually, virtual office. See, it's called as a legal persona. Okay, when we say a legal persona, you have a shape in which you are able to operate a business. Okay, so whether you have a virtual office, mentioned as address so and so, Singapore PT, and it doesn't matter if it is unmanned, but you have a representative, you have a director in the company, you have an office, you have a legal persona, you will be able to, as long as your entity is up and running, which means you are duly, submitting your taxes and returns and all of that, your entity having that legal persona will be able to sponsor the visas if required and run the business, run a payroll and hire the people as well.
So you're still complying to it.
Absolutely. Only need to make sure, your entity is not dormant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's it.
So I will have a question to Guru and I'll have a question to Raghu. Is that okay? On behalf of
No.
Sorry, it's very unusual, Raghu, to ask questions sometimes. Panel is, I have worked with Raghu. I think, you called it a very important phenomena of the body leasing licenses, right, in Europe.
Yes.
Very long back in my experience, when we had to, to go with the EVO model, although there is a direct contact between me and my end customer, since I'm actually, getting another player, who inter alia, works as an employer for the employee in question who's going to work with my customer, right? So we've been asked to, take the body leasing license. So is this something which you also recommend to your customers in case, now for example, I come to you asking for services in Germany, but I could be conveniently construed as a body leasing company because your taxation and your immigration are always linked.
Yeah.
From that point of view, it's quite possible that somebody will raise a flag and say he is not on your payroll.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And from that point of view, are you suggesting or do you suggest your users to register for the body leasing?
It again depends how your client is going to support. So when we talk about body leasing, the requirement is totally differ. What we refer to the regular UR model. So the moment you want body lease, that means the contract to be established, the labor lease agreement to be established between your end client, the end user, and the company actually is going to lease the resource. So that means what the salary you're talking for the particular resource or billing rate, the end client directly required to pay to the body leasing company, and then from body leasing company you have to take your cut. If that model fits for your business, your end client is ready for that, definitely yes, that is the totally closed loop in order to operate specific to Germany in any other countries. But what I experience in most of the scenario, bringing end client into the loop is very complex. So normally they will not the straight away tell why should become an employer or leasing for your third party payroll. So that the usual question comes. Again, it depends on the circumstances. If circumstance permits, definitely that is a viable solution.
If no more questions, I have a few questions to ask them. Then I will take on before
I
your
think
session starts
Prasanna-
on 5 minutes. Okay.
I just want to add to what it is. It's not only circumstances. I'm sure you will know about this.
Just can.
I'm sure you have heard this. It's not. It's not only the circumstances or the contract, right? It is also, do you have the license to operate with the body leasing in the country? Without that, body leasing it does not come into play at all, and it's a very thin line in terms of compliance because you can have a contract, you can have a framework, all of it, but if you don't, if the company that wants to run a body leasing contract doesn't have a license or registered with that country as a company which can also provide this service, it's going to be pretty tough. Leave the IT services or the consulting companies out. I'm saying in general, any company for that matter, even if they have to get somebody to do a project for a short period and go off, unless they have a body leasing license or whatever it's called in different countries, it's not possible to even look at it. And that's one of the most toughest thing to execute.
Yeah, right point.
Yeah, to just add on, in most of the European countries, we face this challenge where if you are putting your employee in the client location, especially the European giants, they don't want the employee to be directly working for them. They definitely ask for body lease. So we had this situation where we were working with Emgeo. So one of the solution we found was we did a tri-party agreement wherein we told that the employee is going to be from our company, but since they hold the body license, so they will be the contract will be signed through that company, and the employee will be represented in the client premises through that company. So one of the project agreed to it and we were able to do it. Otherwise, as Prasanna told, it's very tough if you don't have the body leasing agreement in Europe, especially in Sweden, Austria, Germany. So there are a lot of countries where you cannot put people directly without having that manpower license or the AUG license as they call it in Germany.
Yeah, that's a good point. Can we move to some last set of questions? I'll just take 5 more minutes before I hand over to you your session. Quick questions we'll have just on last round. And Ravi, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is it expensive? You know, how you normally business? Again, your client, you have to quote to your client sometimes, right? So, do you feel it's expensive, or how normally businesses look into it as a company side? I'm just asking you. Yeah.
No, there is definitely a cost involved in it. There is no doubt about it, or two ways about it. Right? There is a cost that is involved. Right? When we see the cost, we have to educate, or rather, in my role, I try to educate to the business what it means to start a company and what it means to get a license to sponsor work permit and what it means to have the sponsorship and run the immigration program and compliance program and the related actionables on that aspects. And with respect to that, to see what is the the contract that you are getting into, how many resources that we are looking at, and what is the period of deployment that we are looking at. That gives the math that we are talking about, right? So as I said, there is definitely a cost to it, but whether the cost of doing business there through an EOR model or through your own entity and your own license and your own sponsorship and the other responsibilities and accountabilities that you take over and above what the EOR companies do, that does the math. And that math has, where it is the long-term engagement, then it is a cost that, maybe we should have it only for reasonable period of time, right? Okay, so you are entering into Malaysia or Singapore or Middle East. You may start with an EOR model there for specific period of time for 6 months, 9 months, and then move on to your own setup and all that. Because the reason that one of the things when Kishore was saying is on the time to get the contract and license and sponsorship setup, etc. So if time was the issue for which you have chosen EOR, then you do it EOR for a specific period of target or time that you can, or that works better for you. And then eventually you can move further. But of course, cost is there. Thank you.
So continuation to that, Raghu. Can you just quickly let us know how the cost look like?
Okay. Important question. Yeah. So here I try to highlight two parts of. Let's break down cost into two parts. One, when we talk about cost for EOR, so usually we take cost related to the payroll. So usually what happens in most of the countries, the cost of EOR, especially as we placing the candidates on a local contract, the employer loading is always important, like social security, medical insurance, employee benefits, all of that. So roughly country to country, it may start from 15% to it may go 40, 45% in many countries. So, and Addition to that, again, your company fees will be there. So when you straight away look at the cost of any resource, salary funds plus employer loading plus your company fees, it looks expensive. But the costing when such deployments, we have to look at in a broader. Um, any corporate when going for new territory and required to hire a candidate or a deploy a candidate. So establishing a legal entity, we have to understand uh, the significance of an entity. Just because of hiring a resource or sponsoring a work permit, opening an entity is not actually not a solution. If project is going for, there is no visibility of the project or there is no plan for developing a delivery center in a particular region, setting up an entity, the cost we need to understand. So it's not just registration of the entity, it is all about how compliance is going to be a recurring cost for a longer time or the complexity involved when closing the entity if not required. So when the comparison should be there, what is the cost you are going to bear under the your model or what is the cost going to incur when routing through one entities. And second is when the one entity is set up, but still again there's a lot of elements the company is eligible to sponsor the work permit. If there is a only plan to hire local candidates, definitely it's a ready solution. Just set up an entity, do HR system and hire the candidate on the payroll. But to become a handy to sponsor the work permit, again there is a challenge. That is the two cost factors should compare. Based on that, informed decision taking is always helpful.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the cost structure. Kishore, I have a larger question for you now, apart from all this. So now we are all talking because I need to ask this question because these days the AI has become a passion, right? So do you think there will be integration of AI and PO models somewhere, or that will not be there, or something like that?
A good question, I think. Um, is there a possibility to leverage technology into EOR? For a minute, I will wear the hat of a HR here. When you actually, talk as an HR person and keeping aside the immigration for a moment, right? We are more concerned about, how to assimilate an employee, right? We are more concerned about how to inculcate the culture into that employee, right? And when you actually, kind of grow your employee base from say 1 to 3 to 10 to 15, then it obviously, becomes like, you need to think about, how do you create your, footprint stronger there. Okay, so from that point of view, taking a lead from, Ravi said, on a very long term, right? And if you have a business prospect and you're growing and growing, you definitely have to, to think about, putting your own, capability. When I say capability, it could be your training, it could be your onboarding capabilities, it could be, your assimilation on the culture. It could be so many such factors which will obviously play a bigger role because you need to be identified as locally local, right? So from that point of view, yes. Now, if this has to go hand in hand, then the technology definitely should play a big role. Can you, from an employee experience point of view, Raghu, employee, if, he or she doesn't care, where the money comes from, right? And, whether his employment contract has all the clauses, etc., unless, you are terminating him. So, stitching all these together, right? One is the mobility, the other one is actually, your benefits, the other one is your payroll, the other one is, your employment contract and exit clauses, separation, etc., right? Putting together and still making him or her feel as part of the same organization is very important. So yes, the technology, has to be leveraged here, from an employee experience standpoint, I would say. And you should not give him a feeler that he is an alien sitting in La La Land and then operating for your company. So which is very very important. So from that point of view, I would urge you all who are front runners in this business, think of integrating with the HRMS, for example, right? That's very very important. So that employee will have a single interface, and he will not feel that he is an on paper's employee of MGO, right? He should still feel that he is an employee of the core organization that he is working for. That's, I think, a very very important element, and it's definitely possible. And I've been working with some of the partners. Let me tell this. Some of the big top two, top three, companies, who are into the EOR space. They have really leveraged technology so beautifully. The generation of the contract, for example, the payroll administration, for example, the severance contract, for example, right? Everything is driven by the technology. And obviously, from an employee point of view, I feel I feel at ease that, okay, employee is not feeling so much of a difference, right? But integration is something which, you will have to achieve with your internal tools like HRMS or, mobility tools, etc., to give a seamless experience to employee.
Thank you for excellent suggestion. Because we need to work on those stuff. Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
just last question I have, Bharat. So what do you think the future of you, or how it might be evolved in coming days?
Sure. Hello. Yeah. Definitely, the UR model is here to stay, because today we cannot put employees in every corner of the world without having the UR company. And today we are moving beyond the borderless hiring, right? Today, due to this remote work and hiring people across the world where they're not interested to be confined to a specific geography, we have to look at hiring people where the talent is available. So in that scenarios, UR is the go-to model. And the other aspect is on the compliances, because the governments are cracking down on payroll not being administered properly, or the labor laws, the employment laws not being implemented in the right manner. Let's say, for example, the leave policy or the overtime. We have seen a lot of challenges coming up where the companies have been asked to pay up those costs. So having a local partner like the UR companies will ensure that we don't have to be an expert in that area, and they will always be there to take care of us.
Okay. Thank you, Bharat. That was wonderful discussion, and we have just come to an end. Unless anyone has a questions, or we'll close. We are on time, probably 5 minutes late. That's fine. Thank you, panelists. It was so insightful, and definitely there are several things I learned today as well. Once again, thank you for joining us, taking this time. Okay, and we'll close the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you to all our distinguished panelists for such an engaging and insightful session.
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah, I request you to just hang in there for a moment. May I request our CEO, sir, to please join us on stage and felicitate our speakers, our panelists, and our moderator.
That's all right.
Let us acknowledge and appreciate Ravi Shankar S. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of cheers, please. Moving to Mr. Kishore Bhagwat. Mr. Bharat Kumar Ji. Let's applaud. Our next panelist, Mr. Raghavendran N.
It will become more powerful.
And definitely not missing the moment, our moderator, Guru Prasad ji. Thank you once again. Thank you. Okay, with that note, like we mentioned, we'll quickly take a short break for refreshments. Let's utilize this space for networking and high tea. With that, I'm gonna give you a quick challenge because once we resume back in the next 10 minutes, you're gonna tell me the new 3 people that you met today and what is it that you learned. So let's break for a quick high tea and we'll be back in the next 10 minutes. Thank you.
Where do talents want to head to? Like your numbers, I was also doing the research. Where are they actually heading to? The interest is more in UK, the interest is more in Germany, the interest is more in Singapore is obviously one. With Compass framework or whatever, it's getting tougher for corporates to get to. But like I said, Germany, UK, Singapore, Philippines, UAE are destinations where people are looking to. UAE, of course, has made it possible with your investment visa or your golden card or whatever, right? So there are folks who are traveling to these countries and there are abundance of talent that's coming in. From a corporate angle, I'm pretty sure all of them will echo the same stuff, right? Saudi Arabia is a hot market now. But of course, the quotas and the localization or whatever stuff makes it a little tough and makes it a little complex. And that's where people are headed to, is what I would think. Why are they doing so? Like I said at the start, US, of course, there's a long wait time for visa stamping. At the current rules, will it make it easier for staffing? Will it make it easier for people to travel? Will they have a long-term, the olden model of like 25 years back or whatever, probably add more or words later, is if somebody had gone on an F1 visa, you get an OPT or move on from there, you get, with your talent, you get to a company which sponsors a H1B for you, you stay longer and bring your skills to the table and stuff like that. You have a path you have a path into your green card. But is that going to be the case? I would not know today. And many of them would have the doubt. And of course, there are other avenues, Canada over the years, Singapore over the years, or Australia over the years, also have had an easier, if compared to the green card journey, they've had a shorter version of getting into a permanent residency. And that has also been a destination in the past. But they are also making it not so easy now. And are they all headed there is a question. But yeah, if you come back to the circle back to the first point, where are people heading beyond the US? Germany, UK, Netherlands, Singapore, UAE, or the emerging markets in Southeast Asia is where I would think. Is it easier there? No, not all easier. There are challenges. There are can I get a long term? Can I get a permanent residency? Yes, there are challenges in these countries also. But yeah, for the moment, it's how it works, and I generally believe, individually believe that it's always a cycle. Anything that works in business or in the world is a cycle. What goes up will come down, and what comes down will go up at some point in time, right? So today, countries which are saying that there are way too many immigrants here, way too many talents, irrespective of the skills they bring to the table, there are there are way too many immigrants in the country. At some point in time, when they lose vote, another country is going to take those challenges, right? It could be the age of AI, it could be the next technology that will come beyond that, or the agents will come and dominate. But will they afford to lose the edge that they have through these talents, irrespective of where they come from, local talent or immigrant talent? If one country started losing, then obviously the other one is going to gain. Student visas, post-study work options. The country which moves forward with those and be a little open and at the same time keep a balance, they will gain. And when the countries which have kind of have that they are losing out on talent, they will come back to the circle. So it's a circle is what I would think. We can hear what the others think.
True. So just let me jump on that. So the numbers that you talked about is like exactly I think down by 100,000. So which tells the story of that 100,000 of like how things have changed. And I think mostly for the countries which have filed also like mostly it's about F1 to H1 or H1 higher, local higher and transfers. Would have been very, very less or very rich companies would have been sending people from the home country with spending that $100,000. And I can even ask this question to the audience like how many of you think that what US is doing in terms of both H1B or green card, the adjustment of status and all that, how long it's or like what is sustainable, right? Whether the US market, will they be able to sustain without the labor market from the outside of the US, right? And whether whatever changes they are making or trying to make, or at least announcing to make, will it be possible, is going to be sustainable, right? Probably I don't know if there is a different answer to that. In my opinion, it's not. It's more political than actual, and where you can headcount, shifting from Europe, which is the high-cost country where we had the larger headcount, and then we can't move them all to India because the contracts with the clients are mostly restrictive in nature, which means that you cannot move them out of the European Union. So what we did is like kind of move the high-cost countries like Germany, France, and Netherlands to the low-cost European countries like Spain and Poland and Romania, which would also mean that you are going to increase the headcount in these countries, which is going to be anyway more costlier than India or Egypt for that matter. So we try to move all the unrestricted accounts from Spain, Poland, Romania to India, and then you free up those resources to move the high-cost European countries to the low-cost European countries. So this kind of balances is what companies also do, not exactly purely like, immigrating people from low-cost country to high-cost country, but also balancing within the same region.
Yeah, thank you, Subbu. Thanks, Prasanna. See, of course, about the H1B and everything, you might have gone through in your WhatsApp universities, media, and you would have enough knowledge than what we will have. I just want to touch base before getting into H1B. How was this scenario before all these H1Bs came? Why we are speaking about H1B? The audience, I'm just asking one random question. Forget about Trump. Forget about all these other issues. You have got enough budget with your employer. If your employer says, hey, look, I am going to post you. These are the 3 countries options, you decide. One is UK, next is Germany, third one is US. Which country would be your choice in the natural way? How many are for US? Forget about Trump. Don't think about this new nuisance. You think about the American dream. The dream has come true. How many of you will go for the US? So I could say more numbers. In case if you are going to send your kids for your education, higher education, your daughter or your valuable son, which country would you prefer? Forget about Trump. Okay. So there is a lack of clarity here. Why? Because why US has been applauded as if it's the end of the world is because when you are going for any specific purpose for a profession or you are going for a higher education, it is quite natural. Almost persons like me, we have exhausted our time still because of our passion. We have never looked back with international mobility so many years. Had I got a boredom, will I have an outlet? Can I move to another function within the organization? Will this employer will be going to give me this opportunity? Is it a natural opportunity problem for everybody? Not that we are all going to be with the same profession, with the same subject. Human mind is like that. After 2 years, then you will see that it is bored. Even though I know either I may be an SME, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. In the same way, when your daughter or son sent for higher education, we ourselves with so much of years of experience, we are falling into the boredom. Kids, Z kids, not even 6 months, I can guarantee. Seventh month, they'll say, Papa, Mama, I don't want that subject. My peers are telling this and that. No, 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 you have to, we have earned everything, we have spent money. Please wait for some time. 1 year you'll get through. Probably after 1 year they'll get through. Most of them, once they settle, then you don't have an issue. But if they have an issue, do they have an alternative option? The one and only country gives you that opportunity is the US. That is why it's called the US dream. Why? Because that country was built upon liberty, equality, fraternity. So this is just, I want to touch base of this particular topic, why people are thinking of US. Of course, I could see some of them are Germany, some of them are UK. Probably it will be due to our celebrity president's influence that people don't want to go to the US. That's fine. Going back to pre-H1Bs, every country has fundamental social and industrial and political demands. How do you think in the social life in a country, how you are structured? Basically, you will find your healthcare. Next is you will find how is your energy is utilized and utilities, how they are addressed. Third one is how is your banking and finance operates. If I am able to put my credit card numbers, is this something next day I am going to lose my sleep or is it safe? Info security. Third one is about how this insurance is taken care. So these are all the basic. Fourth one is the moment we say roti kapda makan, automatically the first one comes to us is before we hit something, before 35 years or 40 years, we should get an apartment on an EMI. It's a basic urge for human being. And the infrastructure is very, very important for every country. Whether it is a small house or it is a big apartment or a palatial workplace, there must be a credibility for that. Why today the metro, railways, all every other constructions are branded with specific companies. Oh, hey, look, this company has taken over. They are doing it. We don't need to worry about while we are crossing these dairy circles. Nothing will fall on our head. We are happy. So the entire structure, human structure, is based on these fundamental demands. Now you come to industrialization 1.0, industrialization 2.0, industrialization 3.0. Everything came with how it is just the railroad, and then after that it went into ship, and then it went into airlifting. So today you are able to get the fresh coffee available in Bengaluru and San Francisco. The same brand is available. You have the best items available. All those cuisines available are readily available without any change of that formula or delicacy, because they are able to serve it in the same temperature how they are able to do it, and that vegetables are not perishing because you are able to come across because of the airline. So again, the airline is falling under the energy area. So all these specific areas have to successfully contribute to humanity. Then the automation came. It was an agroeconomy. First ever agroeconomy was America. The moment Ford Motors put that introduction of automation, that was the automation 1.0. Y2K became the automation 2.0. That is our computers. Today we are into automation 3.0 with all this AI and everything. Every time we had this fear. And now this country is having the employment issues because come back to this geography, India is having huge population, youth population. You'll find people are ready to learn AI. Okay, within 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they're able to learn certain things. They're able to deliver. Customers are impressed the way that Indians are doing this, not because you're overworking or overtime you're working, not because of that. The quality of work that you are doing, that they like that. Of course, we need to improve a lot. The finishing area we need to improve. But funda of the understanding is tremendous. While we are presenting everything into that conversion, we are creating a social problem. Imagine all your Chinese or Koreans or in Bangalore, Hyderabad, or Chennai. Is it not our concern? What will happen to our kids? These are all people who are taken over our job. The same thing has started happening in the US because the technology part. Before H1B came, anybody a doctorate in physics, they were given a red carpet welcome in the immigration. But after that, the moment IT came, people started coming, swarms of people started coming in the name of H1Bs. Then by the time the social issues started, then they put that certain cost to that so that how this can be stopped and given a bridging gap so that that gap can be fulfilled with the local employments, and then this can be catch up again after this current Trump situation. So this is what the whole scenario is. In between, they introduced this 100K. Still, people have taken certain numbers. The reason for them that they have taken certain numbers is one is on preparatory mode, other is inevitable mode, because the customers say that don't worry about it. We will take care of our SCR, we'll take care of our margins, but I want that person, I want this person. Don't worry, we'll adjust. So this is the only reason people have taken this much percentage. This all will change only by night of September 31st. If our president forgets to sign this, to renew this, then it will have a natural death. That is the day we will see that in April 2027, we will have the cap again back so that allowing us to push our people by October 2027. So this is the current scenario. This is what just wanted to give a chronology of this entire situation so that it will help you to understand how all our fellow experts are going to share. Thank you.
Before I give it to Prashant, I'll take what we hear in our immigration lives every day, right? Compliance topic, and I'll take precedence. Is there a precedence to what you've said? I'm taking precedence to what Kishore did on the earlier panel. I'm asking a question to the co-panelist here. Raghu, you've said after all the history, sociology, and geopolitics classes, I want to know one thing. Do you think the current generation, or whomever we talk to, I'm not calling it as generation, whomever travels today, do they even consider all of these points? Given that there are specialists in the room, and in a global mobility sphere, there is somebody to do visas, there's somebody to do travel, there's somebody to do on arrival or relocation of the family. Do people look at, we can hear from the others also, do people consider all of this? And in the earlier panel, I think Ravi was alluding to the point saying that there's only one thing that makes a decision today, which is the compensation that I'll get when I'm traveling on an on-site assignment. So beyond that, do people think? I'm not asking should people think. I think people should think of all of this before they take an assignment, but do people think? And is education a factor? Because I can probably be there for 2 years, and if I have to come back, will my children get a competitive education today? Are these two things? I mean, what do you think? The others?
Yeah, see, a good question, Prasanna. So many of our existing generations, they would not think about it, that these are all essentials in order to move to the US or any other country. And we must have specialization. There are certain, giving exclusions to certain specific percentages who are keen on whether we should qualify for AI, we should get into machine learning, and all those, that population will always continue. But overall, majority of the youth, will always be reacting to what the scenario is. How we were 15 years ago, when we were claiming ourselves as youth and we were reacting only to the situation. Now we are recalling and we are scaled up to some extent today to analyze this is the problem that is retrospective. Had we been like this on that day, we would not have grown. We have to react and jump onto alternatives.
Yeah, thank you. Interesting perspectives. We started off with, maybe a century-old transformation that the industry has gone through. I started my career with H1B, so I can relate to that. And the way I perceive this is, historically, yeah, the services organization which had United States as a destination for, career opportunities for individuals and also business opportunities. In the recent times, as all you may be aware, there is a drastic shift from the United States as a destination to the rest of the geographies. And that I can witness in my current organization also. And why I call that out specifically is because it's a very, very well thought through strategy from the business itself. To say, if there is a heavy dependency on United States as a market, how is it going to impact us in the long run, especially with the foundations that we are talking about, or the environments, about the geopolitical climate or the demographic pressures which are there on aging populations and so on, and also on the technology transformation with AI coming in. With these three environments, right, the lens in which we want to see from an organization standpoint, or from the government standpoint, or the business, or the individuals relocating, there is going to be a pull and push, right? There is never going to be a common space. The common space was there. Perhaps that was the open field, which was allowing all of us to kind of use these avenues much easier before. Those common, battlefields or common play field are reducing, right? So whichever geography we are able to, have that at a maximum possible extent, we will want to kind of migrate to those. And this could be, APAC, Europe, Middle East. Global South is a language that I'm constantly hearing nowadays, where businesses want to penetrate. But again, the challenges around whether businesses are available, do you have your entity set up, you want to, all of those things, and the previous panel also spoke about that. So these are some of the perspectives which I think, which we will transform into. And definitely the past is important, because every 20 years or 25 years we have had a revolution, right? 2000, we are 26 years later and we're talking about an AI. I don't know how much will it take for the next technology to come in. Maybe 5 years, 10 years, we don't know. So we need to embrace the change. And with this transformation that is going on, actually with especially AI buzzing, I think the previous panel did speak about trust, right? And that is indeed one of the elements. I think trust of data, trust of people, trust of organizations, all of these are, I think a common word which will prevail for a longer period of time. That's my perspective. Not just answering on just the H1B or the GCs, which, in many more regulations or proclamations may come through, but we'll have to navigate through, because we still have significant amount of business running in these geographies. We have to navigate through. We can't stop that. But what are the alternatives, right? And how easy it is for us to expand.
That's exactly what I was coming to now. Yes, US dream, as Sir said, absolutely okay on that. All right. In the current situation, where people have got their projects in the US, how do companies navigate those waters? Is L1 the way of doing it? Or is putting up the money upfront the way of doing it? Or taking on masters people from there doing it? Your thoughts on that? How can these companies can do it? That's what.
It's going to be a mix of all of that, because there's no one single strategy.
Yeah.
Because new regulations can come in. So, erstwhile H1B caps, a lot of applications from offshore. Proclamation hit, that reduced significantly. We focused only on the in-country folks, F1 students doing the change of status, where the 100K proclamation perhaps was not applicable, right? So strategies like, or localization, or local talent, hiring students from universities, right? Which I think it's actually a pain point for every talent supply chain group.
Is there local talent available in the US? If you take, to sound very patriotic, if you take the Indians out of the market, in the US, is there local talent available which can meet what thought process the current situation is in? Your thoughts, all of you.
I would say local talent perhaps is available, but not to the extent what we need, and not at the cost that we perhaps need as well. So it's going to be a mix of that, but certainly it's not going to be home sufficient for anybody to run an economy, a land of immigrants, which we will have to do, depend on foreign population. And the question is, where are the resources available? Historically, India has a resources center, which are the new geographies which are now emerging with the resources, be it the Philippines, the Brazils. We need to look at all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, see, when you say the local resources are available in the US, I can say yes, because if you think they are from Indian origin, they have already moved into green cards and they already moved into local citizens. So that way, the technology has already gone into the US. That is why this bridging gap that they are trying to do this so that put some toll gate and they treat them as Americans. Whoever that they have converted into first green card, second one they are citizens, they don't see them as expats. The problem of that country is about people who are coming like a swarm of bees as an industrial estate, and they get this money through this H1B and go back there to their home, put their investments in Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, or everywhere, Delhi, and they get huge palatial buildings. So this is what they are trying to put their political statement. So that way, there are two differences in this question. One is that Indian nationals, Indian origin, they are Americans. So the talent is already there. People who are not able to go there temporarily, which has been prevented, that is a second problem. The third one, we will come to that as a devil's advocate, what to do beyond the US. So at least for President Trump is going to be for another 2 years. We will not know what he will do in the next 2 years. What are the other things? We can't depend on US alone. How to do that? Probably you can just get into that direction.
So basically, if I can, we can go on about the US and what it does to everybody for that matter. It's not working. Okay. So what the US does and where is it going and what is happening, we can debate on that all night through. It'll not end. And we have to go for a nice dinner also and some good snacks also afterwards. That's a different thing altogether. So where are we headed now? Which geographies are we headed to? Where do you see potential for Indian companies to go ahead?
If I can take. So I think Middle East is in Middle East, at least particularly UAE and Saudi. These are two countries which are pretty opening the doors. Where UAE, for example, the local population, we all know that it's like somewhere around 14-15%. So they always depend on the international labor market, and they are open for because they don't have people locally. Secondly, and one of the key things about UAE is that that's the only country probably in the world who changed their weekend to suit the global market. Like, they had Friday, Saturday as a weekend, which is moved from Friday, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday. So that much of a shift a country can do, and which is also not a democratic country, who can do that to be attractive and open to the labor market, right? That's when the businesses come in, that's when the tourism come in, that's when the labor market comes in. Likewise, Saudi as well. Saudi has been very, very restrictive country. So one of my previous companies where we had bigger projects in Saudi and we had tough times to send people there because people just did not want to go. And we made compensations, like we talked about compensation, like it has to be attractive. We made it attractive. We made it double. We gave, accommodation. We gave everything. The car from accommodation to office and back, everything. And the only question the employees ask is, what do I do with this money? I had nothing to do there. Like, even on weekends, I'm there at home and in the hotel room, I have nothing to do. So the attraction from a country standpoint, it's not only about the allowances and money, but also what else that country offers. So today, Saudi is opening doors. They are also becoming more liberal. They are also welcoming people. So because they also want business. They can't be in the same way, like, or depending on oil and the oil market to run their future. So these two countries, otherwise in the Europe, I already mentioned about the three or four countries which are slightly at a lower cost. So yeah, these are the countries I can think of.
So from the topic, when I did some research, Dhiren, I'm just reading out with whatever notes I've made from the research. It's from Financial Times or your Economic Times or your Deccan Heralds and stuff like that. The top two destinations as an alternative to the US in the last 3 years has been Germany and UK, including students who then get into post-study work visas or get into the only challenge with Germany is to learn a new language, but in general, the market from India or the student market from India or people are quite adept to learning new languages. And in India, you can easily see that people talk more than 3 languages. A major population of people who have studied or educated talk more than 2 languages here. So Germany, UK are coming up as primary alternatives to the US. Canada and Australia were leading, like I said a little while ago. The PRs, the permanent residences was easier to apply comparatively in the past, but not any longer. They are big, but they're declining because of other pressures. Canada also knows that there's huge competition with the US and the companies keep a balance between the two countries and stuff like that. Canada has restrictions on age in terms of permanent residency. So individually, there are some constraints for people who got 20 plus years of experience to go and get a permanent residence on their own. The other fast rising thing, countries that we are seeing are Ireland, Netherlands, and France. Netherlands and France have a language challenge, but again, with the adaptability to language and learn new languages, these are also seen. Subbu already spoke about the Middle East, which is whatever the opinion of the Indians who've traveled and who've given views to these newspapers or whatever, right? From their research says that UAE, Singapore, Japan. Japan is a new one on the rise now. UAE, Singapore, Japan, and Saudi Arabia are markets, which is close by to travel, easier, more accessible, and stuff like that. And there is a lot of, like whatever US or UK would have seen in the past, there's a lot of regional groups that are available. It's not limited to Indians, it's also the Filipinos or it's a lot of other ones, but there are a lot of regional and ethnic groups that are there. And Subbu already touched about it. Cost-driven choices, largely in Eastern Europe and in some parts of Central Asia, are emerging. And this is all, I mean, if any of them, whichever LLMs they use, ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, it will give you with evidences. I also picked up from some of the research there. There are at least more than 3 or 4 newspapers which have reported in the last 3 years, which are saying this. And irrespective of this, in the last 2 or 3 years, there are more than 6 lakh people who have immigrated to different countries, including the US, Canada, whatever is called the OECD countries, the Oceania countries, plus a large part of EU. All of them have had more than 6 lakh people come from India alone. And this is not limited to IT or bank. Yeah, they moved, of course, in the course of moving. So this is about 6 lakh people who are going for work and then obviously making wherever it's possible to make as permanent residences doing. And this is not 1 to 6 lakh across. Of course, the most sought after IT is the medical field. The hospitals and the elderly care, which is Australia is seeing a lot increase in healthcare plus elderly care. And there's a huge demand for doctors and nurses, which is coming up. And of course, India is the second biggest market in terms of doctors and nurses going from India. So this is across, I'm not talking only about one industry. From India, multiple industries, this is where the world is headed to currently.
I think I was alluding to the point on the industries to say healthcare, banking and financial services, and also the engineering space. I think these are the sectors where you see a lot of demand, and which is why organizations want to penetrate into these markets, be it Europe, be it the global south or the oceanic, right? And that's the pattern that we are also witnessing, and an active investment is being done to kind of explore into these markets.
On a lighter note, will they still be called USD or will they change?
Right. Right now, the decision is not in me to change the name, but as of now, it is USD.
Just to summarize what all other 3 colleagues have indicated, one is that the wallet share of the US in the yesteryears, years, if you have a customer, one US customer, it is equal to 2 European customers in terms of volume, equal to 4 Asia Pacific customers. This is how the logic was. And as an employer, as an entrepreneur, you will always like to send the same quality of people and try to get the revenue from the most straight model. That is how the US evolved. Today, from the US, all this healthcare has moved into Europe. infrastructure. I'm not sure if any of you Google it in some part of Saudi Arabia. They are building around 170 kilometers length of artificial township with complete energy utilities. Why I am touching energy is Europe is now aiming to reduce the greenhouse effect by 50%. Greenhouse is very, very important for us, for next generation. While we are speaking, if you are sending an email, it occupies around 15 kilobytes. And then you are attaching on, now it is a new year or something birthday, one small pink flower, rose flower, you are just adding that. It is adding another 140 KB. And then you add something else. It, like this, the mails that are generating the carbon footprints, it takes about 140 carbon in terms of the weightage. Based on that, you can run an automobile for 3 days. That is the way that they are calculating. They want to reduce that. This is one of the reasons America and the inability of America is happening. All those industries have come out to Europe, Middle East, and everywhere. Now the other countries have started addressing that opportunities. Then gradually all these issues like language, getting into qualifying language, and getting an Ikama in Saudi, all these things will come. The very important point that you were touching upon while you were introducing that, Bengaluru, down to earth. Mumbai, still that Raj culture. This is very important in order to culturally getting an amalgamation into a country. The youth, when you say, I am with them. They are not bothered about all your old stories that you are coming and propagating. We want what is today's life and how you can address without interfering my personal liberty. I'm not going to trouble anybody. But my personal liberty should not be, what I want to eat, I'm going to eat. How I want to take my life, I'm going to take my life. Please do not give me all these other preachings. This is the way today's youth are, some of us in case we still have that thought. This generation is going to produce all this productivity today. So culturally, the trust must have, the employees, they must have the trust. This employer is going to take care of me. It is not just like that. I think some of our friend was telling in the employment contract that you have to indicate very clearly what is that you are going to give it as a benefit. All these transparencies that we achieved, only then this youth can move to other countries. And of course, the other countries' shares are available for business opportunities. These problems like Ukraine war and other things are all temporary. Once this is resolved, is US going to open the door the same way? Is the youth going to storm US in the same way how it was before? That we have to wait and see how that scenario will be taking forward.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting perspective from all the three gentlemen. One more topic which is a little hot, which you can talk about. Will AI replace the global mobility professionals? Will you replace all of us by machines?
If Raghu talks, then I doubt, because if it's going to touch about ESG and stuff like that, and if it's going to talk about sustainability and stuff like that, it's going to be pretty tough. I'm just picking up from the point that we are reading, almost everybody must be reading, right? Bigger companies are now saying AI is not going to be sustainable in the longer run, only from an environment angle. So I don't know how true, how far, because it's a bubble or it's not a bubble, we'll all know in some time. But there is quite some heavy investments everywhere. On the same topic, when I was doing while I was preparing something with data and stuff like that, I also went through some other point. So the first thing, will it change or not? I'll come to that. But the first thing is, it was one of the quotes, it was there yesterday in social media, which says, AI does not know the implications of its output. It is equal. It doesn't know that is Subbu going to relocate to a country with a spouse and a child, or is Prasanna going to relocate to the same country with 2 children and a spouse, or with family, or is he going alone? It doesn't see. You ask a question, it gives from what it learns. Very similar. It's the same thing, right? What we have all followed in the past is what is being done today in AI. AI does not give the same answer to the same set of questions when asked by 2 different people. At the same time, why does it do so? It's because what is being fed, right? In our homes, what we teach our children, or what we feed, or what they see, or what they observe, is what it grasps. But in AI, the more and more data that goes into, the more and more inputs that it gets, it tries to become intelligent until it becomes that it can give something on its own. And it starts giving almost an equal answer to same question asked by two different people. It's going to be pretty tough. The only difference that today mobility people will bring in, you can give all the inputs, you can tell all your use cases, test cases, whatever it's called in technology world, you can put all of that in. But beyond that, is there a solution that it can give? It is not yet become as much as intelligent or that experience that's gone in. All the people sitting here can put all of the information in, but will it grasp all of it and then give a right information? It will take some time. It will certainly come to some point. But beyond what is there to be understood or beyond what is there fed and given again, is there something different? Yes, it will stay for some time. I do see that you'll have to teach AI better for AI to give answers. It's the same thing. If you ask the same question to Subbu and me or to Raghu and me, two employees coming and asking same question, I may not answer the same. I will answer very close. My crux will stay the same. But in today, will AI's crux also stay the same? I don't know, unless it's from one of these websites of the governmental agencies or a law book, it would differ. And will it be acceptable if somebody wants to hear only X answer and they go and ask either a human or an AI today, until they get the acceptable answer, they're not going to like it. So that's going to be the attitude is what I would think. But it is also with us not to have the fear that we will lose our jobs. We should certainly make it better. How best can I reduce my emails? How best can I reduce my repeated conversations? How long will it take to get a UK visa? How long will it get to? What is the waiting period for a US visa? What is the cost to send somebody to Saudi? All of these answers can be fed with right information, repeated. You will get the right answer and AI will make your job easier. But the guidance or the human touch of saying, should I go with my family or not? To this country, should I go first? Should I take my family later? Should I go together? All of these human touches will still exist. AI will learn, somebody will feed this, amongst the four of us, three will feed whatever we learned, and then it will learn and come back and give those answers. But will it have the human touch? Take some time. So your question is, will it replace us? It might. Will it replace all of us? It might not. As and when we grow along with it, teach it the right way. Just because your children are educated and come and they take your jobs away, can you fear that? No, it cannot. How much you teach, how much you feed rightly, and how much you take back and is more important. And the biggest thing that we all hear is, right, your prompt has to be right, your question has to be right to get a right answer. We all have to learn to ask the right question first. That's there not to AI, even in our lives. Yeah. So with that, I would think, will AI take our jobs? Yes, it may take some. Will it take all? No. And can we live with it? Yes, we can live with it. Can we embrace it? Yes, we can embrace it. Can we use it to make our lives easier? We certainly should use it to make our lives easier.
I think Prasanna covered all perspectives. So, nothing new. But I just want to allude the fact that AI is a reality and we need to embrace the change and try and make use of it. That's what I would say. Many of the repetitive tasks and all of it can certainly be done better with an AI, but the architecture and also to govern it, right, we need certain, deep expertise and with a human touch. So that's a short answer to that.
I think sticking perfectly to your question, so is it going to replace us? I think it's not like any technology, like people compare with different technology of internet and then everything that came in, how jobs have changed and evolved, right? But one thing which is catastrophic with AI is that it's going to kill a lot of jobs, and that's the reality. Most companies will not admit it and don't want to admit it, but it does, and we are seeing that. We are already seeing that. Mobility is not going to be like any different from other jobs. But how mobility has evolved in these years, like probably in the last 2 decades I've been handling it. It's been very, very clerical. It's been a lot process. It's been very operational. And then how we move to a little bit of an automation and making it a little more helpful for us with the automation. And then how we move that function to strategic. So today we sit along with HR or CFO or anybody alongside in the table of the business to see that, discuss how strategically we can contribute to the business to grow and develop. So when it comes to that strategic level, definitely it cannot, I won't say may not, it cannot replace, because there you make decisions which are particularly personalized and to the situation and what is needed and what is particularly needed there with your knowledge, with your intelligence, what you already have, and how it's going to apply for the future. But where it is very clerical, very operational, and it's mundane, definitely that's all going to be replaced for sure. How we can make it easier or like safe for ourselves and our teams, right? How we make them strategic. So if you are sticking to one particular operation of mobility, say immigration process, it can be easily automated, it can be easily outsourced. So I can give it to Dhiren tomorrow and say that, okay, take care of my entire immigration. But how I'm going to layer it out in terms of I'm going to bring in the global taxation, tax equalization. Today we are talking about immigration. You talk about tax equalization. Can you or anybody, even an expert from EY or PwC, can sit and say that you will be taxable in this country from tomorrow? That's impossible. You have to take about the entire personal scenario, the tax residency, the number of days you spent in a particular country. Imagine you have spent your three months in 3-4 countries in a year, where your tax residency is going to sit. And the tax residency calculation for each country is going to be different. So every country is going to probably claim that I'm a tax resident in that country. So that kind of a personalization needs to be done, or an assessment needs to be done. Probably an AI can help you do that, but it cannot replace totally you doing that. So if I'm going to layer my function handling taxation, social security, payroll, and everything end to end, start from immigration to the repatriation, then I'm going to make it a little more layered, strategic, and safer for me and my team to be in the job, at least to an extent.
You can test, Dhiren, by asking the audience here, how many of them today, not in the next 2 years, how many of them today would trust any answer that they get from an AI prompt, and how many of them will use that in their jobs every day? You can ask them to raise their hands and you'll know how much of impact it has.
Put your hands up.
Before that, let me just touch one point. One thing is that all of us are united to say that AI will kill the job to some extent. So it's a fact. How it is going to kill? See, years, a software engineer was replaced. Years, a payroll executive was replaced. Today, software is replaced. Payroll is replaced. This is what is called a structural change. Subject matter remains the same. Your compliance remains the same. Whatever history, geography, sociology, everything remains the same. With all blockchain of technologies, it has created the info security. With the big data technology, it has created knowledge internet. Today, if you are able to tell your own teen kid, hey, look, this is what it is. My dad told me, my mom told me, my granddad told me, Frederick told me. Already, he is verifying, he or she is telling, no, there is no such thing called a Frederick. Name itself is not there. You are blabbering. Because already everything is recorded in your data. That's what is called the big data today. This knowledge internet has completely evolved and changed the whole symmetry of the youth, challenging the status quo. This is what it is today. In this scenario, learning something, if it is something called AI, if you have an open mind, the secret of being youth is nothing else. Have an open mind, ready for the change. Don't try to hang over something just because your grandfather has dug the well and you start praising that even though it was dug by him, it is still salty. Come out of that idea. Start learning into the new technology. The moment you start learning into the new technology, the same thing happened in Y2K. When computers came, everybody started, labor union started, everybody started arguing, we lose our jobs. Who will lose their job? Who is not competent to learn? In any industry, it is going to happen. So competency matters. Upskilling matters. Put your efforts into learning. That is the way to overcome this temporary scenario. Over a period, it will be a challenge. And this is not a problem of youth. Youth are ready to learn. This may be a problem of people who are not ready to learn, who have completed some 2 decades of experience and they are not ready to learn. They have gone into that rush type of mindset. No. This is what I was told. This is what I will do. That once that attitude changes, your opportunity change, your learning tendency change, this concern can be addressed and overcome, but we can't overrule that there is no concern at all. There would be a concern. There is a method of remedy also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I can go on, but I would like to leave the floor open for questions from everybody else here. Anybody who can ask? Anybody wants to ask, please feel free.
It's hello.
It's working.
Hello. Is it audible?
Yeah.
Hello, it's better. Not a question per se. I would just want to add the relevant question here and give a real-time scenario. Okay, I think the pertinent question was whether it is going to take away the job of global mobility professionals. Let me give you a real-time scenario. We are two companies merged into one. We are going through massive integration. Canada, we have lots of people. We are kind of, making them into one entity and all of that. My boss, CHRO, asked me a question about the global mobility, immigration, saying, this is a scenario. Is it compliant to do this way versus that way? Then being a global mobility head, obviously I will give an answer, which is relatively safer, right? That's how we are actually used to, because internally we also work with our attorneys, who are specialists on the ground. Being a global mobility head, sometimes your bosses are smarter than you, obviously, right? And I buy at days time, in spite of telling that there is no problem, we are absolutely safe, if we do 1, 2, 3 actions. Next day I'm supposed to go back, okay? And the moment, of course, I am prepared for that. Next day my boss, he comes prepared with the ready-made answer from AI, and AI tells all the kind of things, right? Obviously, I thought my job is gone. Quite seriously, because that's how the leaders obviously, are pursuing AI as a source of truth, right? It is up to us basically, to figure out what is legally correct and legally vetted and correct. That's very, very important. And number two, to avoid from losing a job, we need to be very fast. So that's, I think, very, very important. My simple message to the youngsters here is that before your boss does research, you do your research.
In the backside, who wants to ask a question? Okay, one last question before we wind up the session today. Okay, as experienced professionals, your advice to the global mobility professionals before entering a new country, what should they be actually be concerned about? Okay, in terms of when they're going to new territory and how are they? What are the things they should look for?
Hello. So I think one reason that we don't have much questions now is that what is the next in the agenda? Exactly. So the longer it takes, the delay it's going to be. So what we can do probably is like we will elongate it, punish them. The point about what when you venture into a new country. So as we are a company which is like not so well established or like smaller, we get into a lot of new geographies, and then right from setting up an entity. Okay, so that as early as that. So when we set up an entity, we look at all around, like not the legal team and the finance. They look at like how do we set up an entity legally established, and then we can run it there. But then immediately comes it's like how do we deploy people? Okay, either we have to hire or we have to deploy from another country. So we have to look at from all the perspectives of like not only like you deploy the person, get a visa and send that person. So that's one part of it. But then whether it's going to be legally how the payroll is going to run, what's the tax rules over there, whether it's going to be easier for me to send a foreigner there or hire locally, which is more cost viable. So looking at from all the perspectives, particularly in terms of cost benefit, because most of the times the businesses would look at like the cost of processing a work permit, which is like one part of it. Then you deploy that person, you pay a particular minimum salary, which many would not even think about. They would think, okay, this is my salary and this is what I'm going to pay, which is probably not going to be the case in that particular country or in that city. Then you talk about the tax requirements. If you go to Europe, for example, there is a 40% of tax and then a social security and then all of it and then plus benefits, plus you can't even remove that employee from that country, at the end of the assignment. So how you're going to make your assignments concrete, in terms of contractual arrangements. So doing entire cost analysis, cost projection, putting all the expenses or from the initial year, the assignment year, and then the final return year. So all of this together, because the first year and the last year is going to be more expensive than the years in between. So doing a thorough cost analysis, doing a complete compliance analysis in terms of every aspect of compliance to keep both the employee and employer compliant is all some of the points that we need to, as we at least Global Mobility, we will have to give these inputs to the management so that, sometimes we also have had conversations where after putting all this together, the management decided that it's not worth investing in this country. Because, we are going to do that. For example, we did one in Mexico, and which happened much longer, and then the localization ratio is 10:1. So which means that you need to hire 10 Mexicans for one foreigner, which doesn't make any sense otherwise you're going to hire only Mexicans there, which if it's cost efficient, if it's cost viable for the business, then it's fine. But otherwise, if you're thinking about deploying people from India to Mexico, it doesn't make sense.
I would say first form a task force, especially when you're talking about new country deployment, new geo deployment, form a task force, because there are so many areas that it touches upon, and ask some very good questions to the business who's asking for, deploying people. And, it may be around what is the number of people they want to deploy there, what is the frequency of visits, the duration, because answers from those questions can derive a strategy which could be either locally deployed or through, mobilizing talent from one particular center to another. Many times it gets into a vicious loop because of an improper coordination between the key stakeholders. It could be like, say, one stakeholder is of course mobility and immigration, but there are people from the HR, the finance, the employment tax, the corporate tax, and the employment legal, corporate legal. I think so one or the other, there has to be a common, consensus between all functions to sign off and to say, okay, yes, we are good to go into this geography and to follow this particular deployment model.
I just noted from the earlier panel, I think one of them did talk about this, right? Understand the laws of the country first. That's the primary thing before you go into any country. Of course, all of them do research. But to summarize what they've also said, one, know what is the cost, also know what is the cost of compliance or non-compliance. Tell them what is the cost of non-compliance in the country. So always say, is it cost versus compliance? What do you want to do? Is one. Two, obviously know the law of the country or whatever regulation that it talks about, all the nuances of it. Three is don't assume. Don't assume, and the very cliche thing, don't assume and make yourself an ass. Please do understand. If I do just once, would it be wrong? Will it not be wrong? Can I do this just once? It doesn't matter. So don't assume and tell, and whatever Prashant was talking about, right? Have a task force. There are two sides to the task force. One is have a good partnership internally as well as externally. Internally is with all the teams that he said, the different spokes of global mobility, tax, payroll, HR, compliance, CNB, immigration, whatever. And externally with the authorities, if you can build, there are multiple forums in India, there are multiple ways where the trade bodies of the countries are also there. The most important is to have a strong advisory in the country. I will conclude with that, given that you are in that field. I would suggest please have a strong partner who will tell you what is right, what is the right path, what are the options available, right? If you do all of this together is what will help you have a strategy to get into the country. It's always time versus can I do it now, but make the choice which is the right choice.
Thanks, Prasanna. Thanks for the summary. I just want to add the embedded sensitivity in this whole scenario. Like Sabu said, Prashant said, all these procedures, the company's international mobility team, HR, they'll take care. Are they going to come along with you every day when you are shopping and having a socializing life? That part is the very, very important part for you. Why? Because whatever that you are doing in this country, please don't assume the same thing is understood there. Whatever eye contacts that you are doing it, we are not doing an eye contact here, we are doing eye contract. We know how to stare and we know how to destabilize an individual for the whole of their life. These are all our cultural flaws. And I might have done it and I might have corrected it. It is within us. In a client meet or something like a dinner, don't ask personal questions. Just because a lady of the client started socializing with you, don't start asking, are you married? How many kids you have? These are all not our questions. In our India, Desi style, this is okay, I'm married, I'm not married. All these things they will say, but there it is not. And don't take your personal employer's problem just because a customer client partner is friendly with you. Hey Raj, I think I got a nice place and everything is okay, was all right. It's just assuring. That doesn't mean I will have a laundry list of complaints I can sit with him and start discussing. Google it, you'll have everything. Culturally understand that country. What is that you can do non-verbally? Verbally, you'll know, you have some English, all of us will have some English command. Non-verbally, what is our non-verbal communication in a country where you don't know their language, they don't know your language, because they say 98% of your communication is done through your non-verbal communication. Only 2% is done through your blah, blah, blah mother tongue. So this is one embedded sensitivity. In case just it is missed, I just want to highlight that. Thank you.
Well, this is what I had. I can go on and on talking to them. Is there anybody in the audience who is saying, either you guys are absolutely spellbound by what these gentlemen have said, or either you are very hungry, or you are sleepy with the AC nicely on. You have to tell me what is it all about. I'm okay with that. Okay. So is there anything else which anybody has to say, or should we wrap it up and call it a day so we can go and have some good food, network? Because again, now she will not call you back saying come 98765 for that matter. All right. We can all network, we can have good food, have a drink together, no issues whatsoever. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you noted three of the names, yeah. He's very observant, he noted three of the names. You guys have to answer him afterwards. Okay. All right, lady, all yours. I had a very lovely time speaking to you guys. I can go on and on with this, all right? But due to paucity of time, it may not go on. But thank you so much. Lovely to speak to you, gentlemen. Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, you wonderful.
Check, check. Thank you so much. I think there was a lot of depth that you added to the session today, and it was incredibly amazing to listen to each one of you. And I know there are definitely so much of takeaway from this session. Do we all agree? If yes, can we give a big round of cheers to the panelists for putting up such an amazing session? With that note, can I request Guru Prasad sir to please join us on stage? And we felicitate our panelists and our moderator for this evening. So we go with our first panelist, Raghuraman Venugopal. Let's give a big round of cheers. Moving on to our next panelist, Prasanna Aravamudan. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get some applause. Our next panelist, Prashant Ilavendan. Thanks for all the insights, sir. Our next panelist, Subramani Soman. And once again, taking the privilege to felicitate our moderator, Dhiren Sampath. Thank you so much. Please be seated. Sure. Can I request all the panelists to please join us on the dais? We'll have a picture together.
ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ಸರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದು ತೆಗ್ದಿದ್ದಾರೆ ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾತ್ರ ಫೋಟೋಸ್ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಲೀಸ್ ಐ ಆಮ್ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಂಗ್ ಯು I'm requesting you.
So we're going to do a retake of the pictures.
One by one, I think we have to take.
One by one. Please, sir, please. Sorry, sir, please. He'll one Sir, new friend.
Okay, because it's happening again, I think the cheers should be a little bit more louder this time. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Our next panelist, please. Can I now request all the panelists on the stage, please? A huge round of applause to the panelists. Our photographer needs more smiles now. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks to all the panelists. Yes, we are going to conclude the session. How was the session overall? I can't hear. Quick one words. Good. Excellent. Great. Informative. Nice. Something more that I want to hear. Excellent. Okay. Nice. Great. So with that note, I request our CEO, sir, to deliver the vote of thanks.
I think I should be paid more than her because I did most of the talking today. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. The distinguished panelists, all of you. Your words of wisdom will resound with everybody who are there in this room. We made an attempt today for the first time. 79 people had registered with us, of which 60 came, 19 did not come. They missed out listening to the wonderful words of the panelists. But I can assure you one thing, we'll come back stronger next time. We'll have this whole thing planned again. Hopefully the same panelists will be there with us again to share their words of wisdom and many more for that matter. Thank you, Radisson Blue Atria, for this wonderful arrangement. Thank you guys who've come here, patiently sat through the afternoon. We won't disappoint you. We can all go up to the poolside to have a drink, food, network, and please stay happy because on Sunday, you'll have to again celebrate because RCB is going to win again. Yes. I am an RCB fan, a die-hard RCB fan. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
Just one last announcement. So cocktail is arranged by the poolside. For dinner, we'll have to move into the restaurant. Yeah? Thank you so much. Have an amazing evening. This is me, Sarah, signing off until we meet for the next time. Happy networking. Thank you.